Thank you. So, first of all, thank you, Kat, for mentioning that I'm going to give maybe a different opinion to Emma on, because I wasn't aware she's presented a lot of the slides, a lot of the graphs that I have. So also, if anyone wants to take this opportunity to have a wee sleep for a while, then I'll not be offended either. I'll not be looking. So, yes. So rather than the broad approach that Emma's shown there of all sorts of things going on in ocean literacy, I'm just focusing on the Northern Ireland survey. So, sorry, should probably start off by saying thank you for the kind invitation to talk today. And I know a lot of you, still to meet a few of you. Looking forward to that through the day. Though, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Hugh Edwards. I work in marine planning in the Department for Agriculture, Environment and Rural Affairs within the Marine and Fisheries Division. Which covers a lot of areas. There is no, I have to say again, probably at the outset, there's no specific remit for doing ocean literacy. And probably one of my key roles through this from 2021 was to persuade key people that they needed to allocate departmental budget to and effort and staff to actually running a Northern Ireland ocean literacy survey, which I think has been very worthwhile. And I think there's broad agreement on that. So, yes, but there is no statutory underpinning that I'm not aware of. I was aware in marine planning that marine planning is a public participatory process. So that's one of the examples of where we need to be aware of the opinions of people. If possible, be talking to them directly, but Northern Ireland's a big place. So these surveys where we get some indication of the range of opinions is very, very helpful. The other thing to mention as we go through, I'm going to go through a lot of slides here, and I'll rush through a few of them. You will notice that I will probably dwell on ones relating to biodiversity and climate change quite a bit. I don't really make an apology for that. That's partly because I am a marine ecologist by training and most of my career, but also they are our twin global crises. So I think I've got some justification there. But if you think I'm rushing through things like lifestyle changes that people make, and a lot of the survey, it's partly because there's a lot to get through. I think there's about 21 slides here. So really, a lot of those slides are simply to show you that we have survey results on that. You can go to those reports directly. They're on our DAERA website. There is probably getting ahead of myself here, but there is a headline report and a technical report, and there's also then data available to researchers or others that might want to use the raw anonymized data. So there's a lot there. So yes, the other thing, cross-border collaboration. So a lot of the time I'm going to be talking about Northern Ireland. That's simply because that's the population level that this survey was done at. You'll see there, and as Emma's mentioned, the United Nations Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development. It's actually no accident that England and Wales pilot survey was run in 2021, and our survey was, again, getting ahead myself, but the other surveys, which I'll go into, were 2022. There's a lot going on at that time, and this is one of the factors. And we're also looking to 2030 for, we would like to run at least one more ocean literacy survey no guarantees on that. But in the lead up to, we are focused on this. And I think seeing what the differences would be with a time gap would be quite informative. I'll go into a bit more of that in a moment. So just to move on a bit. Okay, so I do, without a long Oscars speech, I do need to mention two people in particular. Mark Atkinson in DAERA and Stuart Barr in our department, working on marine strategy areas. So I was approached by Mark in DAERA in 2021. He is in the DAERA Marine Social Science team. We don't have an equivalent here. So we're very much reliant on their resources for the professionalism of this survey. A lot of the questions ended up being very, very similar. And that wasn't just for comparability. It was actually, we looked at the questions and said, yeah, we went through all of them. We said, those are really good questions. So we tweaked a couple of them. I think we tweaked one that I wasn't happy was terribly clear. So that was the only reason for that. It was still effectively the same question. We just asked it we took out one of the supplementals and, asked the two questions in a different order. And we also obviously made it Northern Ireland relevant where that was mentioned. But that was about it. So yes, we've got a big debt there to two others. As mentioned, it ended up being surveys in England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. Each of those countries took those surveys forward on their own terms, with their own budgets, with their own approvals. But it had that coordination from DAERA, which was really useful. Also the input from the Ocean Conservation Trust and from Emma McKinley in an advisory role. So you'll see Emma's influence through the survey, as she's already outlined there. So yeah, it was I would consider a very professional survey in terms of the way it was run. It was run by BMG Research, who are a research survey consultancy. We had lots of meetings with them. They took everything on board that we asked them to in terms of the way the questions were asked. We had a lot of discussions about coastal, because this was a survey of the whole of the population in Northern Ireland. It was regionalised to make sure that there was, I think, split into four to make sure that there was adequate weighting. There's a lot to do with weighting in this survey, to do with making sure that everything matched population statistics. All sorts of factors. Coastal and non-coastal was one of the comparisons that we couldn't do, where certainly England could, I think, because of our population numbers. So there was 1,081 people surveyed aged 16 and over. Survey was run from 22nd of September to 4th of October, which you'll see there. They ran a pilot survey just before that to make sure that their methodologies were working. And representation was very important. We'll get on to, now we'll get on to some of the slides you will have seen before. Well, not the slides, but you'll recognize the components of all sorts of bits of this now. So, but this does have a lot of my opinion on it. Also, to say a lot of this is my opinion. It's not necessarily departmental lines, but there's nothing controversial here. I've just tried to look at, when I was doing this, try to look at the answers to the questions in a bit more depth. And I think there's a few things I've picked up on which might be of some interest. A few things that could be seen as contradictions. I'll try and explain why I think they're not, and how we can use that knowledge. Yes, you will have seen, so Emma's diagram on the right, you'll see this 10 in that framework. You'll see we've got 8 on the left. They actually cover all the same areas. There's nothing missing there. It was just the way it was set up, probably slightly earlier than Emma was publishing. So, let's see. So, another graph. Lots of graphs now. Oh, this be more. There we go. Okay, so what I've done, you will have seen some of these already. There's lots more. I don't even know what slide I'm on here. Yeah, what I'd like you to look at here, it's really interesting to look through the detail of these graphs. What I'd like you to focus on probably is those figures on the right, which I find the most useful. So this one is the percentage that people think that the following statements are to some degree true. And you'll see they're all very high figures. So the highest of which you'll see that 97% of people agree that the ocean supports a great diversity of life and ecosystems. Now, in a moment, I want you to consider that 97% figure. This is one of a few pairs of figures I'd like you to maybe consider in this. So 97% of people consider the ocean supports great diversity of life and ecosystems. As you'll see in the next slide, and as Emma's already pointed out, only 65% of people consider that they understand biodiversity. Well, here to me, that tells me that 97% of people do understand biodiversity. So it's maybe the confidence in saying that they understand what they perceive as a technical term, or they don't consider they understand it well enough. So I think we can dig into this a bit more, and see by compare, as one of the ways is by comparing some of these figures, and I've got a few more. But yeah, if this is the sort of core awareness, I think this is termed as, then those are very high figures, with probably a few less people agreeing that the Earth has one big ocean, which is fair enough. We don't always talk about it as being one ocean, so yeah. There you go. So yeah, there's your biodiversity figure of 65, the third one down. So my initial thoughts were, well, I'd love that to be right up at the top next to, as I say, I'd like a lot of these to be up where climate change is. So with climate change, 90% of people know or have heard or have some understanding of climate change. So that's really reassuring. Again, you'll see that set again, you'll see another figure for climate change, which actually backs that up. So yes, the other place I'd like you to look is right down at the bottom here. So the understanding of eutrophication, not entirely surprising. There's only 17% of people that are saying they understand that. Now, again, my initial thoughts were, well, with what's been going on in Loch Ness since 2023, and this survey was just before that, hopefully a lot more people are aware of eutrophication. And then I looked through some of the news articles, and I found it's a term that's hardly ever used. The term seems to be nutrient pollution. So again, I suspect that people understand, or now understand, but maybe did before, but they have less confidence in the technical term. So I don't think we should take, if people are saying that they don't understand eutrophication, they may understand what nutrient pollution does. They're maybe just less familiar with the term. So bit of interpretation here for what we take out of these figures. So Emma's shown this one again. So yeah, I suppose what you can say about that, obviously you should be focusing on the concern. I take that to be that 45% of people are concerned about the health of the marine environment. They could be concerned about their safety or all sorts of things, really. But that's how I take that, would be consistent with the rest of the survey. But there is the full range of emotions here, from fear and anger, and whether people are angry of the treatment of the ocean or just angry at the ocean. So we also noticed that 2 people were bored, but there you go. Again, you've seen this graph on the left. Emma picked up on slightly different figures here. What I'd like you to look at here is the blue columns. Yeah, 13% of people think the health of the global marine environment is good. So only 13% of people believe the global marine environment is good. But 24% of people think the health of Northern Ireland marine environment is good. So more people think that the marine environment is good, is in good condition, is healthy here. And they are aware that the global marine environment is in trouble. Again, take from that what you think you should. I've put this against the OSPAR. It's probably not the latest assessment, but one of the OSPAR assessments, which looks at 15 ecosystem components, and the assessment is done on a UK level. It is done on levels below that, but the assessment from that is that only 4 of those 15 ecosystem components is in good condition. So you would have to take from, again, well, I would say you would have to take from that the marine environment is not in good condition. That's not any statement from that's only my reading of those figures. So yeah, this is not us trying to say that people are either right or wrong in what they believe. These are perceptions, but I think it's interesting maybe to look at what our assessments would suggest and what people do believe. So I think that's maybe something we can take from this as well. So the benefits of the marine environment. Again, this could be seen to, I want you to compare this to another slide a bit later on, which is not contradictory. So it is reassuring to me anyway. The top 6 of those, Emma mentioned here, I should say, that so further down, the importance of shipping and tourism and all those things are lower down. So I think this reflects the concern. I think everyone's aware that shipping is important. But when asked about the benefits of the marine environment, these top 6 are really crucial, and people are aware of that. They're aware of the climate role that the ocean has. They're aware of the sorry, the food resources, the marine biodiversity, renewable energy potential. So again, I found that really encouraging. And to be honest, I think people were asked to pick 3 for a lot of these types of graphs, to pick 3 answers. You would really be hard-pressed to pick 3 in a lot of these cases. So again, whether that methodology needs tweaked a bit, I don't know. So again, the top threats here are, time is it? I'll rush through. This is probably an important point just to make, and then I'll move on really rapidly. So marine plastic and pollution. So this is where I think we've probably been successful in our messaging. It's really important that people understand the impact of marine plastic and pollution generally. You could be a bit concerned that some of the other factors further down the list are maybe not near the top. But yeah, in terms of what people can do, marine plastics are a big one. And again, that's shown in terms of the lifestyle changes that comes out. So that's, as a whole population level, that's a really important point. Okay, so relatively little, not dwell on this, not dwell on any of the next slides. This is an area we can do some work on to improve. Okay, relatively low understanding, not of the importance of these, of seagrass and salt marsh, but certainly of restoration methods and what's going on and the detail. Again, that's a fairly 50-50 split on people really understanding that there's impacts on land and at sea from wind farms. The marine protected area bit, so there's 84% of people were in favour. This is another figure I wanted you just to compare. 84% of people are in favour of marine protected areas. Only 2% oppose them. In the earlier questions, only 65% of people said they understood marine protected areas. So again, they may be not understanding the detail of it. I do need to move on. So all I will do now is click through to show you that there are lots of, so that's the lifestyle impacts, food and energy, marine activism, communication, destinations, recreational activities, walking with and without a dog as the biggest ones. Photography and sea swimming also came out quite high. Now, this is one last point probably just to say is mental health. This is where people value the marine environment personally for their mental health and well-being. That is not in contradiction to people saying the marine environment is especially important for, as you will have seen in earlier ones, for climate regulation and all of those things. And there, those activities were placed really low down. But actually, when asked on a personal level what they use the marine environment for, it is these factors. COVID was an issue at the time. There you go, and that's, I haven't got a QR code, but that's the links. Thank you. Sorry if that's overrun a bit. Thank you.